how you were able to kill that interview, but also, what how you were able to demonstrate your drive. Talk about that piece of it as
Sure,
well too.
absolutely. So because I knew that I didn't have any, direct financial experience, I didn't even take a math class in college. So my quantitative skills weren't strong.
Mm.
I decided to start, I just went on, I think it's called Udemy or Udemy. I don't know how it's
Yeah.
pronounced, but I just went on like those websites and I started taking like Excel courses and just like basic, just fundamental courses that you should know in terms of like software and um, just platforms that you have on your computer that I just never use because I didn't need to use it up until that point. Um, and I would kind of explain the process of, these are the steps that I'm taking to learn, even though I don't have a formal background in these concepts. They mentioned to me that training was a big portion of the job anyways, and that they were really looking for people that had the soft skills. So where the soft skills come into play is, I think, that's a good question, and that's hard to define, to be honest. I think you either kind of, I don't want to say you have it or you don't, but I I just like to talk to people. I like to ask questions. I have a level of intellectual curiosity that maybe some people might not have. Um, and that translates well when it comes to speaking to clients and when it comes to speaking to people in general. And
Mm.
so for me, that was kind of really what helped, was that they saw that I was interested even though I didn't have the background, and they were willing to take that chance because of it. Um, Sure, there probably were people that were more qualified than myself. There were people that probably did study finance and did study those, actual things in college, but they probably didn't have the soft skills. They probably just were probably very awkward, or they, didn't really know how to like talk to people and make people feel comfortable and welcomed and that sort of thing, right? Which is what I kind of excelled in more than I did on the quantitative side.
Yeah.
So one thing that I want to mention for sure is quantitative skills. You can teach anybody that stuff.
Mm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
clear, clear as day. Like you can teach anybody quantitative skills, but soft skills is something that really comes from within. Um, and so being able to make people feel comfortable around you is a really big portion or a big part of client facing positions. Not only that, but allowing them to uh, allowing them to build trust in you is also
Mm.
equally as important, if not more valuable. So
Mm.
if you can show that you can demonstrate the trust building and the comfortability and all of that stuff, and just also just being professional and just the basics, I think that goes a long way. Sure that the technical skills are important as well, but for especially for sales and for operations, if you can just demonstrate that people want to be around you, and want to talk to you and want to engage with you, I think that's also just as valuable as the technical aspect of any sort of role.
I would 100% agree. I would even say this, Ella, right? I think it's even more valuable, right? Because
Mm,
here's another piece of it too that I'm a jump to. One of
okay.
the things you mentioned was your role at this financial company was client facing. That's another reason that you were paid an extreme amount of money on the front end as well too. Because if
Really?
you're,
I didn't think
yes,
about that.
absolutely. If you think about it, right? If you think about the people who get paid the most in corporations, anytime you're closer to the customer, you're going to end up getting paid more. Anytime you have a direct, response for bringing in revenue
Hmm.
or for helping to generate revenue, you're going to get paid a lot more money. So think about this. I'm in sales right now, right? And the reason why salespeople get paid so much is because they're responsible for really getting customers to make a transaction with the company that you're with. They're the person who's a representation of the actual company themselves.
Mm,
So most people, if you want to do really well in your career and make a good amount of salary, you're not going to be a back end person. You're going to be a person that has to have soft skills. You have to be a person that's really close to the customer in order for you to get a high level salary, like a person in sales get paid, or executives and so forth. Executives, they talk to customers all the time. Customers at the executive level and so forth. But the majority of them are client facing. And
mm,
if you're in a manager role, traditionally as well too, you are more than likely going to be somewhat client facing. And if you're not, you're probably not going to be getting paid as much as somebody who is a manager who is more in a client facing, such as in professional services, delivering projects or project management, or things on the sales side as well too. or even product management. That's another piece of it, right? Where if you're close to the customer in product management, you're going to be getting paid a good amount of money as well too from a salary perspective. But let me do this real quick, Ella. I want to hit these super chats, and I'm going to let you continue to cook. You're over here cooking, okay? Captivated my. I appreciate the $9.99 super chat. Greetings to you and your guest, brother. Thank you for these talks with people in the field. Absolutely. Blind guy, his wife, their life, $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Corey and Laquita. Shout out to the useful degrees. They are useful degrees. There are a lot of useful degrees out there. Brandy is in the house as well too. Brandy, I appreciate the $9.99 super chat. Thank you. Tell brother John I said what's happening. I hope he's doing wonderful, and little Jonathan is doing well as well too. Brandy says, Woman Empowerment 2022 is my year for IT. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that too, Brandy. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Absolutely. So, okay. So you got to say this now, Ella. So you're in this financial role. Okay. And tell me, is it everything that you want it to be? Are you struggling with it? Obviously, your soft skills is good. You're learning all this quantitative stuff. Take me along that journey, and then we're going to get to that tech piece of you finding your way there, because you made another transition, right? You made the transition into the finance world, which, believe me, I'm even scared of the finance world. I'm on the sales side. I love the sales side, but the finance, the numbers, I would love to be excellent in the numbers piece of it. Maybe that's another area that maybe I will do one day in my life, but I just think that is like a completely different skill set that I'm not comfortable with at this point in time. But you did it, okay? So talk about that journey and then how you got into tech. Go ahead and do that.
Gotcha. So this was my first real job, like my first legit corporate job full time after I graduated. At this point, it had been maybe a year after I'd graduated from college. And it was difficult. Like it was both difficult on the soft skill side and on the hard side, because soft skills, I'm a millennial and we don't like to pick up the phone. And that was half the job, was we had to pick up the phone and talk to clients. And that was really difficult for me because I wasn't used to it at that point. But we had to pick up the phone, talk to clients about our products, our what we offered, as well as, the financial trends that are going on in the world at that time. This was maybe 2018 that this was all going on. And so I was very anxious a lot when I went into work because I just wasn't used to it, because it was my first corporate job. I didn't want to say the wrong things. I was scared of making mistakes. So that kind of messed me up a little bit on the soft side. On the hard quantitative side, there was a lot that I had to catch up on, because I was probably one of the only people in the new class of hires that didn't come from a finance background. I was probably one of the only ones. And so I had a lot more to catch up on and to study and to learn. And I'm not going to lie, it was really difficult. A lot of this stuff I had never heard of before. And I just kind of felt sometimes I had a lot of imposter syndrome too. I think that was the biggest thing. That was my biggest area of just, it was tough. It was really tough. A lot of times I felt like I didn't deserve to be there, because you heard my background. It did anything from my education to my interest, and then mention any indication of finance. No, exactly.
Not at all. Not at all.
So for me, I felt like, okay, maybe somebody else who was more qualified should have been there. And that kind of was still in my head the entire time that I was with that company, from the beginning to the end. And I think that was kind of what messed me up in terms of just my progress, or stunted my progress, that is, because I just kept putting myself down so much and felt like I was never good enough for the job that I was in. So I think the company was great. The people were great. I worked right across the street from the White House. So I had no complaints about the company or the office or anything. It was just, I think my own internal mind kind of got in the way of progress in that role. And I'm sure probably not the only one who's gone through that imposter syndrome phase, but it definitely was a struggle for sure. Both on the quantitative side and on the soft skill side. Even though I knew I had and possessed the soft skills, I'm comfortable talking to people. That's no problem. But I just kept I kept getting in my own head about saying the wrong things and not feeling good enough and not feeling like I deserve to be there for the like 9 months that I was there at that company, that I just it was a positive thing that when I did leave, even though I did have a positive experience overall in terms of like the people that I worked with in my team. So does that answer your question as far?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does. It does, Ella. But what I would say is this too. I want to talk a little bit more about that job because it's almost
Okay.
sounds like you were in a sales role in some aspects of it. But you're calling customers, and are you cold calling customers at this point in time? Are you
So
obviously
our
you're
our
pitching ideas, pitching products, and stuff like that.
so our company, thank goodness, we didn't, that wasn't our model. We primarily used referrals to
Yeah.
get our business. Um, but we did have to pick up the phone. We did have to, make transactions because these are, accredited investors, qualified purchasers, basically people who, are either making at least $200,000, or have at least $1 million or $5 million of assets, or liquid assets, within themselves. So these are like high net worth individuals. And for me, this, formerly homeless person who, just graduated from college with this liberal arts degree, like, I'm intimidated by all these people. So I think it was a
Mm.
level of intimidation that I just didn't want to say the wrong things, because clients, I mean, you deal with people, you know how people can be, especially
Yeah.
clients,
Yeah.
especially high net worth clients at that. And I was scared. I think that's, like, to be honest, I was just really scared that entire time. And so I tried to avoid the the phone calling. I didn't mind being face to face with clients. I didn't mind, doing the analyses, as far as their like portfolios and what their financial portfolios might look like in the next 5, 10, 20, et cetera years. But it was definitely, intimidating, I will say. And I think that's what held me back the most.
Wow, wow, wow. I say this though, Ella. Kudos to you for even, a lot of people are just on the fence about getting into IT in general, right? They think that, okay, well, I don't have the skills because I don't have to come from a background like that. You're like, I don't give a damn, right? I just need to make a way for myself, and whatever it is, I'm just going to figure it out. You applied to this position, you accepted it, you dealt with it for a good 9 months or so. I'm sure there was a whole bunch of stuff that you learned from that experience, right?
Oh, for
Obviously,
sure.
you've learned, how to get over imposter syndrome, how to, communicate with people over the phone, or how to get out of your own head, whatever it is that you probably learn the financial models and stuff like that. The fact of the matter is, you took a step in the right direction to learn, and you just said, you know what, I'm just going to figure this piece of it out. I want people
Exactly.
who are on the fence of going into IT, guys, don't know that. Just don't think that you have to have it figured out now. You apply, apply, apply. If you get accepted, if you get a job position, and it's in the salary that you want it to be around, or even below the salary, if you want to get your foot in the door, just do it. You're going to figure it out. You're going to get there. You're going to leverage your soft skills, or your ability to relate with other people, and they can help you get over your hurdle that you may be facing, or the lack of skills, the hard skills that you may have or you may not have at that point in time. Just completely apply, apply, apply. Don't sit here and say, oh, okay, the situation has to be perfect, because Ella wouldn't even, gone that way if she would have thought that the situation had to be perfect, because she didn't even come from a background like that at all. And she went into a completely different industry. So I wanted to make sure I said that to give people encouragement that things don't have to be perfect.